And you know what? I would marry him. A man who stands by his word. Need that. Hashtag need that. The echo. Can you guys hear the reverb? Hey guys, it's Sunny. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. Obviously, yes, I'm filming this video on my phone because, as you can tell, I moved. I literally stuck my phone onto my window in my room, and this is gonna be a book rec video. 100% money back guarantee that you could probably read all these books in one sitting because they're short. Like, I'm talking like less than 200 pages. Actually, the first book that I want to talk about, this is my Kindle. The Girls Who Get It Get It. The first two books I'm gonna be talking about are short stories by the same author, and I just finished one of them 5 seconds before I started filming this video. They're both by Abby Jimenez. The first one that I just finished is called The Fall Risk. I'll put the number pages actually when I talk about the book. I loved it so much. It was so cute. I just spent the morning reading it. Less than an hour maybe. It was so cute and so good. Abby Jimenez is the reason why I'm like, maybe good men actually do exist. Maybe men actually do deserve rights, because Seth in this book, let me tell you guys what this book is about first. It's about these two people, Seth and Charlotte. They're like in their late 20s. They live in the same apartment building on the same floor. They're the only two that live on this floor. There was like a mix-up with the construction team, and they took out the flight of stairs that was going to their floor. They're literally stranded up there. Best meet cute ever. They're gonna fall in love. Seth is an arborist. Like, he is a tree person who works for the city, and I love that so much because he's like so nerdy about trees and he loves talking about trees. I love when boys are just like nerdy about like really niche, hyper-specific things. The Girls Who Get It Get It. Charlotte is an accountant. She is like really scared because she has been dealing with like a crazy stalker, and so she's like kind of really hesitant at first, and then she finds out that Seth is like actually the nicest man alive. Handsome, so nice, nerdy, perfect, beautiful, amazing, show-stopping. And so you see the two of them just like falling in love. Their banter is so cute, so easy to read. You can read it in one sitting, like I said. The second Abby Jimenez short story book, I read it last year. It's called Worst Wingman Ever. Our main guy character, his brother and like his brother's fiance, girlfriend, wife, or whatever, can you put this like Valentine's Day card on her car? But he does it on the wrong car. It's the same model. It actually belongs to the girl main character, and she's taking care of her grandmother who's like dying. As soon as he realizes like, oh, that was the wrong car, he goes back. She left a note that's like, hey, I think you got the wrong car. He leaves a note back. He's like, I'm so sorry, I was supposed to do that for my brother. And they end up like getting along, and they end up just like leaving notes for each other. And so it's that trope of like anonymous letters, anonymous notes, or whatever you want to call it. They don't know what each other look like, have no idea. I kind of don't really like this trope all the time. I only like it if like the reveal and like the tension building is like done really well. And I loved it so much in here because there was a moment where like they actually did come across each other in real life, and they had no idea it was that person. And even when they didn't know that, they're like, wait, that person's really cute. And I'm like, you guys don't understand, like, you're already in love. The reveal of it at the very end also, like, the reveal has to be so good, and this one was so good and so cute. The next one is a fantasy novella that's part of a fantasy series. Did I read the series? No, I didn't. You guys know me, I'm kind of a monster. I like don't care about being spoiled. So if you're like me, you should read this book because it's literally like my favorite book ever. It's Gilded Ashes by Rosamund Hodge. I think it's part of, if I can find it, I'll put it right here. But like I said, I didn't read it, and I personally don't think you need to read it in order to like enjoy this book. It's kind of like a Cinderella retelling if it turned like really dark. So we follow our main character. Her name is Maya. She's in a Cinderella situation where her mom died, and so she's like living with like stepsisters, step family. Except the twist here is that when her mom died, she like kind of made a deal with the devil that like in order to protect her daughter, anyone who makes her daughter unhappy is going to die a terrible death. And so she's like haunted by the spirit of her mother. Like, she can feel it. She's like, oh my gosh, my mom is watching. Maya has always put on like a front of like being the happiest girl alive and like never showing that things are like upsetting her. She doesn't want anyone getting hurt because of her. So she's like always like keeping things to herself, like trying to remain happy, calm, sunny, all that kind of stuff. The prince in the story, his name is Anax. I don't really know how to pronounce it. A-N-A-X. Anax. There's like a ball where they're like, yep, we need to marry him off, like find him a wife or whatever. And Maya is tasked with like delivering like love letters from her sister to this guy. And then obviously it's a romance between her and the prince. He is obviously way more intrigued by her than like by the sister. He keeps asking her, bring me back the next letter, like, but it's actually because he just likes her. Like, he just wants to spend time with her and want to talk to her. She has no clue that this is happening. Obviously she's like smitten by him, but she's like, if he's around me, there's a chance that my mom's gonna snipe him, and I don't want that to happen. I never saw you coming. Falling in love with you was never part of the plan. My favorite trope. When I tell you, like, I reread this novella like every single year. I don't even know how I came across this novella. Then I was like, wait, why is this like the best love story I've ever read in my entire life? Like, I loved it so much. So many butterflies, the tension, the pining, the yearning. It was so cute. Okay, the next one is also a novella. Low-key, a lot of these are novellas, part of the Fable Namesake series. That one I actually did read the series for it, and I didn't know that this novella existed. And then I was like, wait, best novella ever. It's called Drift by Adrienne Young. It kind of follows two like side characters from the original duology. A guy named Koi. He actually starts out being like a little bit of an anti-hero, makes an appearance in the second book, and he's like a reluctant ally. You kind of affectionately adore him by the end. He's like one of those. And then we follow a girl named Willa. She's like the sister to the guy. When they meet in like the second book, it's kind of like the craziest crossover ever, where you're like, wait, that's really weird, but also there's like chemistry between them and you can tell right away. But it's like so small, subtle, really slow burn, literally nothing happens. And then they get this whole novella novella that's just about them on their own little side quest? Was it just 175 pages of fan service and just like cute interactions? Yep. And was it eating it up the entire time? The next book that I have to talk about will come as a surprise to not one single person in the entire planet. I have never heard of anything so in the pocket for me in my entire life. The Divergent novella 4. Do I watch the movie every single month? Yeah. Have I read the book more than once? No. Did I even finish reading the original trilogy? No, I didn't finish reading Legion when I was like in the 6th grade or whenever it came out. Let me tell you, the second that I saw Theo James, I laid my eyes on that man and it was over. I left that theater a changed woman. The 4 novellas are his point of view. This is like a compilation of a couple of novellas. The only ones that I care about are like ones that are actually happening in the Divergent book. The first couple ones are just like backstory, like prequels. What is it, like the knife throwing scene when he saves Shailene Woodley from those people trying to like push her into the pit when they meet for the very first time, like when she's like the first jumper or whatever. Like, oh my god, those no actually the best works of literature I've ever read in my entire life, because I just love being inside of his head, because he's like kind of one of those men who like give nothing, you know? Go on girl, give me nothing. He's like just such a rock and you have no idea what's going on in his head, and then you go inside of his head and it turns out he's like loved her this entire time, or he's been like intrigued by her the second that he saw her. And I love that trope. He's just like so loyal and like down bad, down ugly, down horrendous for the girl. On a similar note, these are other novellas that are attached to a series that I love. It's the Darkest Mind novellas that I didn't know existed. One is called Sparks Rise, and then Beyond the Night is book 3.5. But you kind of don't need to read the series in order to read these novellas, in my opinion, because they're kind of like not that related to like the actual main plot line. It's kind of like part 1 and part 2 of a whole other story that could have been its own book. We follow kind of like a side character we meet in the first book. She's like the friend of Ruby, who's the main character in the original series. It's like a dystopia world where children were like completely annihilated by this disease, and if you survived it, you like develop these like powers, and then the government has kind of like persecuted all these children with these powers, put them into like internment camps, and if you're not in an internment camp, you're like on the run. And so Sam, we meet her first when she's like in the internment camp. She's the main character now, and then she meets one of the guards, and turns out the guard is her childhood best friend named Lucas. Quiet, nice, soft boy. Obviously they recognize each other right away, but it's like, wait, it's been like literal years. The world has turned upside down. We have this history together. Like we were such good friends. We care about each other. We know each other. But like no one can know that. And so he like keeps it a secret, but he like visits her and they're like trying to figure out a way to escape. And it's just so cute. It's very much like from her point of view, she's like, oh my god, he was like the nicest kid ever. And like, damn, he's grown up. And I love when that happens in childhood friends to lovers. That's like the best part. The second part of this, Beyond the Night, kind of like the Katniss and Peeta trope. He has like actually been like kind of brainwashed by the government. But yeah, it's like they're trying to reverse the brainwashing. Like, I know you're in there. Please remember me. We're in love. My favorite. I love it so much. Should I cut my hair? I was gonna let it grow out over the summer, but me just doing that, I'm like, imagine my hair was this length. Comment down below if you think I should cut my hair. Okay, the next book is also, surprise, surprise, a novella. This time it's a prequel novella. It's called Chaos Rising. It's part of the Edge of Collapse series. So the actual first book is about Liam and Hannah. Basically, an EMP has completely wiped all the electricity out in the US, and it's like the dead of winter. Hannah has been held captive by this psychotic killer, and then Liam is this like ex-military man. He kind of has this like urge to just like protect her and like help her and like stay with her. And when you're reading the book, you kind of don't know why. And this prequel tells you the story why. It basically follows him at the exact moment that the apocalypse started. He has a brother and his brother has a wife, and the wife is pregnant. And spoiler is that he was actually in love with the brother's wife. Isn't that crazy? But obviously he never said anything. She just kind of reminds him of her, and it just like, it literally makes my chest hurt to think about it. And you know what? I would marry him. A man who stands by his word, and he just like shows how much he cares through actions and not words. Like, need that. Hashtag need that. The last book that I have to talk about, I think it's the longest one, but it's actually an anthology. It's a series of short stories. It's called Someone Who Will Love You in All Your Damaged Glory. The author of this book is actually the writer of BoJack Horseman, I think. He's the writer or producer. All these stories are really quirky, but the purpose of them is to like say something about love. I kind of think of them as like thought experiments. For example, like one of them is about like these two characters. They sit across from each other on the subway and they notice each other and they think that each other are cute, but both of them just like never make a move, and they end up staying on the subway just like staring at each other for the rest of their lives, like until they're old and gray. All the short stories are kind of like that, and you don't need to read them in any specific order. Those are all the books that I have to talk about in this video. Thanks so much for bearing through this iPhone setup. Sorry, Loki kept falling, but I hope you guys enjoy. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. You can follow me on my socials. They're all linked in the description, and I'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye!